Ms. Winkler?
Here.
Dr. Kulkowski?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here. Quorum is present. Everybody please rise for the salute. Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we just concluded executive session. We had a personnel report, HIP review, pension report, and a legal status report. And now turn it over to Dr. Bass for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. Tonight we're looking forward to hearing from our business administrator, Christopher Jones, and his review of next year's budget. Before we jump into that, I wanted to highlight all of the happenings around the district. Well, at least some of the happenings. Tonight, from 6 to 8 at the high school, the Mental Health Awareness Club organized their second wellness fair. The students gathered an impressive lineup of local resources to offer brief presentations on various mental health topics. There was a keynote speaker from the National Alliance on Mental Illness. The students presented at a Wellness and Equity Committee meeting earlier this month, and we were all impressed with their passion and interest in mental wellness. Winter athletics have come to a close, and the board is looking forward to recognizing those top athletes and teams at the next board meeting on March 23rd. Last night, the Education Enrichment Fund, the EEF, put on a fundraiser with the Harlem Wizards at the high school. It was an awesome family-friendly event, and people really had fun rooting for their favorite team. Both of our middle school bands are playing at intermission at the Devils game at the Prudential Center. Nettingham is playing tonight, and Terrell is playing next Tuesday, March 21st. Tickets are still available. The middle schools will continue to wow over the next 2 weekends as well. This weekend, don't miss Peter Pan Jr. at Terrell, and next weekend, High School Musical at Nettingham. So no need to go to Broadway, so much happening right here. Next Friday, March 24th, the Moonblowers are hosting their annual jazz festival at the high school. It begins at 5 and tickets can be purchased at the door. There's something for everyone going on, and in and around the district, we hope to see you out there.
Thank you, Dr. Bass. Business administrator report.
In light of Mr. Jones's budget presentation, there is no other report this evening.
Great, thank you. Board president announcement. Okay, the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law is enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, Scottsbluff Federal Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place therefore posted at the Board of Education office at 512 Cedar Street, Scottsbluff, New Jersey. Such notice was also provided in written notice forwarded to the Union County Hawk, Star Ledger, Township Clerk, Scotts Plain, to the Borough Clerk of Fanwood, in the revised annual notice of regular scheduled meetings as adopted April 28, 2022. We'll now move over to our student representatives reports.
Hi. First, I would like to highlight the esports team making the state final and competing at university on April 1st. One exciting thing coming to our high school is I have 14 French exchange students coming in the next week, so students will be on the lookout for those. They have a special tag. As well, we have a new issue of the Panscotian coming next week. And something very important that I'd like to highlight, especially for our seniors and maybe juniors to be looking at too, is the Student Scholarship Foundation. Students will be canning outside of various stores around town on March 25th and 26th. So please, if you're in town and shopping, we would really appreciate donations to help fund our student scholarships for this year. As for the college track, admissions are coming to a close as seniors will be seeing admissions from this week up until April 1st. Senior Commitment Day for college is on May 1st. And then one last thing I'd like to highlight is a tri-state group meeting that the administration had I was able to attend, and aspects of literature and students with disabilities were discussed.
I would like to highlight the spring sports that are starting this week. Pitchers and catchers for softball and baseball started this Monday, and all over tryouts for all sports started today. I had a great time, and I hope that all the other athletes did as well. Opening day is coming up for all spring sports as well, so that's going to be super exciting. As for another topic, it's testing. This week as a junior, I had the NJGPA testing. In my opinion, it was pretty well. It all went really smooth, and for future tests, I'm pretty sure that we have the MA SAT and the June SAT coming up, if you need to take that. And then another thing that I'd like to highlight is Hack SPF, which took place on the 25th. It had classes on Python, Scratch, robotics, web design, and ear sketch. And it was a great way to introduce coding into the district, and I think it went really well with 72 hackers. Yeah, it was really awesome day. Thank you.
Great, thank you both for your updates. Very informative, appreciate that. Okay, we're gonna move over to instructional update. So we're gonna be going over the 2023-2024 proposed tentative budget. We'll be voting on the proposed budget, tentative budget, not the actual final budget until next month.
Okay, so test. Okay.
So as Mr. Jones started his budget process, we always reconnect to our district mission. And just to emphasize it, the mission of the Scotch Plains Family Public Schools is to educate every student to become a confident and caring lifelong learner who can communicate and contribute positively to the rapidly changing world. The district, in cooperation with the community, will provide an academic environment which values excellence, initiative, and diversity.
Thank you, Dr. Matt. So this first slide will just talk about our budget goals, which really our budget goals align with our strategic plan. So this is basically stating our strategic plan and our area of focus. Diversity, equity, inclusion, educating the whole child, community partnership, and facilities and infrastructure. And of course, focusing on academic, social, emotional growth coming out of the pandemic, and making sure we can still maintain programs with the challenging economic climate we have in terms of inflation. We'll get into that. And ensure the schools are secure and well maintained. So I'll turn it over to Dr. McGarry to talk about curriculum and instruction.
So as Mr. Jones said, we are trying to maintain programs in a difficult economic climate, and I'm really pleased that we're actually doing some innovative programming next year around the strategic plan, specifically around educating the whole child, as well as our goal related to diversity, equity, and inclusion by continuing to work forward on our teacher pathway and social justice academy. At the same time, we're launching 4 new courses at the high school next year, which is pretty ambitious in a difficult economic time. We are excited to have been accepted to be a pilot school in the expansion of the College Board's pilot of the AP African American Studies class. We are launching AP Psychology for the first time, and 2 new electives in the arts, one in social study and one in arts, American popular culture, and graphic commercial design. We're also looking to expand dual enrollment offerings. So we have an agreement with Union College, formerly Union County College, to offer a dual enrollment course in the business area, Introduction to Business, which will be taught by a staff member at SPF HS, but will offer students the opportunity to earn free college credits in business. We're continuing to explore opportunities for revising the middle school allocation of time and some program enhancements related to some more choices for our students, particularly in the arts areas. And then continuing to utilize our one-to-one device program to advance student learning.
Thank you, Dr. McGarry. So first, I want to focus on enrollment. So our enrollment right now is it's sort of at the higher end of our historical average. But our district demographer does, think that next year our enrollment's going to go up. And I think the one thing we have highlighted here is that our elementary school enrollment is the highest it's been in over 10 years. And on top of that, we know that we have 1,100 new housing units coming up online over the next 2 years. They were, delayed almost a year in opening, but we know now they are starting to open. Specifically, Glenside Apartments, 122 is open. We have 2 buildings that are open there now. And, we're continuing to, collect data and see what students are coming in. We looked at our capacity and we're very, very close to capacity. We're either at capacity in most schools. And so we're building contingency plans. I think what we have coming on is we did an RFP for a new architect, and we're hoping to approve that architect at the next meeting, the meeting after that, to look at a potential referendum to create some room. Okay, general expenses. I think the thing here we saw last year, we continue to see this year is inflationary pressures have continued. The biggest thing, of course, is the bus driver shortage, and it's leading to a significant increase in costs. The one bullet point I have there, in 18-19, our costs were $3.2 million. So over 5 years, our costs have doubled. It's a very difficult environment. And the thing with the transportation costs, there's strict rules on transportation by the state in terms of procurement. All of the buses that we hire are out to public bid, and we are required to take the lowest bidder. You can see even with that, the pressures on costs are significant. We've tried to mitigate costs as much as possible. Approximately 20% of our routes that go out of district are now shared with other local school districts. In addition, we've got this county meetings with multiple counties and also the head of transportation in Trenton to try to let them know about all of our concerns. So we're hoping that some of the pressure that us and other districts are going through will, hopefully central government can help us out with something either in funding or in regulation. So I think hopefully most people have seen in the news in terms of the pandemic, people delayed going to the doctor. And so because of that, outcomes have led to worse outcomes. And, I think in the district, it's no different. The number of major health incidents have doubled from prior years. And so we're seeing a significant increase in health benefit costs. And we are doing everything we can to mitigate those costs. And that includes, switching our plan, switching the provider that we have. We've put it out to bid, and we're looking at all options to try to bring down those costs. The difficulty we have is because we have the high number of major incidents. It limits our ability to reduce those costs through those options, but we're still trying. Pension costs, I know municipality and school districts is dealing with this, where the state continues to push down pension costs down to the local level, and I expect that to continue. And we're sort of at the back end now of the utility increases that we do see on an unfavorable basis year over year, continuation utility increases in costs, and our general insurance costs are also increasing. And those are, we put those, again, the insurance costs, we put those out to bid expenses. I'm going to go into more detail in a later slide. So this just shows generally, pie chart of how our expenses are segregated out. I think the main thing here is to show that majority of our costs are fixed in salaries and benefits. But transportation continues to increase as a percentage, and that's something historically we haven't dealt with. So to get to those other expense lines, again, limited flexibility with these costs. A lot of them are special education costs that are state mandated. But I think another national trend that we've seen is the nursing shortage. And so because of that, the cost to get nurses for students has increased significantly through that special ed services line. And we have limited flexibility. We have to get nurses, but it is difficult to procure them. First off, to get them, and then second off, it's very expensive. One area where we are going to have some savings, because we're looking at every little area we can save money, is our copier. So we've looked at a full district-wide view on the copiers we use within the district, and we're hoping to save, we're just finalizing that contract, hopefully to approve it on the next agenda, save approximately $40,000 to $50,000 per year. And in a typical year, that sounds really good, but with these, the pressures on the cost, makes it difficult. But we're handling it the best we can here to maintain what we have. Another trend that we've seen, I think everybody, homeowner, knows that when they go to Home Depot, the cost of things are up. Something you bought before is a lot more. And, we're no different to that. We're seeing maintenance supply costs of 30%. And, we looked at invoices from last year, this year, same exact item, same exact vendor. And that continues. So it continues to go, we haven't seen any deflation in that area. So we expect those costs, we're hoping that they don't increase as much, but we definitely don't see those coming down. And so because of that, it creates a gap for us. I'll get through, we do have some reserve money that we can use for those increases, that I'll talk to shortly. And just, a lot of these, the maintenance supplies, and on all of our supplies, we use the procurement rules in New Jersey schools is very strict. And so the vast majority are applicable bid. So we partner with educational services commissions, they're called, and they go and try to, like an example, like paper costs. They'll go through and collect the lowest bid from multiple vendors, and then we'll purchase our paper under those terms. And the vast majority of all of our expenses go through that process. So we continue to increase that percentage to try to get the lowest cost possible. The one area that we are expanding service this year is security. You'll see an increase there. Most of that is, is price increases, but we're going to hire a full-time officer to cover the high school at night. I think everybody's aware that the high school at night, there's a significant amount of activity that goes on there. And so having a security officer there is very important. And in addition to that, that goes to some of the increased mandates that the state is rolling out. So, given, the activity, I think everybody's fully aware of security in schools. The state is sort of ramping up what they're doing there. And a lot of those initiatives are rolling out. We've done a lot of training this year, and we're rolling out next year. That's required. So it sort of goes hand in hand with that. Technology, I think costs continue to increase in technology. I think everybody's aware of that. We do, as Robert mentioned, we have the one-to-one initiative that we need to expense. In addition to that, cybersecurity needs continue to increase. In order to even get insurance for cybersecurity, the insurance companies ask us to do certain things, and those things we have to pay for. There's an increased cost there. In addition, there's back-end needs such as phones and security networks that historically in the past there wasn't a huge cost there, but we do have those costs now. The back charges to hold the security that we have. this slide here. We're focused on costs wherever we can, 100%, and but a lot of this is driven by the inflationary environment, unfortunately. So revenue, I'll quickly go through this and then get to the next slide. In terms of tax rate, tax levy increase 4.6. We did receive a nice increase in state aid, but I think you saw the increase in state aid really only covers a part of the increase in transportation. I want to mention the maintenance reserve. That's what I was mentioning to earlier. We're using our reserve there to cover a lot of the inflationary costs within our maintenance supplies. But overall, a nice increase in aid. But we're maintaining our fund balance and are at $2 million level year over year. And we'll get to so the next slide here is, I think, what everyone wants to understand, what's the impact on taxes. And this year, the impact for Scotch Plains is 2.62%, an average of $250 a year or $20 a month. Stanwood, 1.97 or $14 a month. And I think that given all the inflationary environment that we have, I think this is a reasonable tax increase. And you see our history there of the tax increases. It's in line with what we've done in the past. So nothing different there. Okay. And my last slide for me. So some fun stuff. Now we'll talk about some of the things that are happening at the schools that this stuff is paying for, and some of the good stories that we've had. And athletics is very exciting. As the former athlete, I was talking about this and talking to Ryan Miller, and he prepared some talking points for us regarding athletics. So as of now, we have 10 collegiate athletes for next year. We know that's going to go up over the next couple of weeks. We're early still. Some achievements we had this year: county champion gymnastics, bowling sectional champion, first in school history, divisional champion in boys basketball, first in over 20 years, girls basketball sectional finalist, first in 17 years. And the volleyball preseason rank, the boys volleyball is ranked 5th in the Northeast and 25th nationally. In addition, we had the first ever female wrestling tournament held, which is a pretty cool accomplishment. That's my sport. And then we had indoor track hurdler Nate Rayan, the fastest. This is crazy. The fastest 55 hurdle time in the nation. 7.14. That's really incredible. And we have about 20% participation in athletics. So of all the students we have about 20% of them are in athletics. So I think it's really a great story for athletics. And now I'll hand it over to Dr. Matt to wrap it up.
I'm gonna steal a little bit from Dr. Mast and talk about
Sorry about that, Dr. McGarry.
our world-class fine arts program. Those of you who come live to board meetings each month hopefully get a chance to appreciate the artwork that our students produce throughout the year. And when you think about the term learning loss, which is so popular, and you consider the artwork that you see before you tonight, as well as the performances that you have seen throughout this school year and really throughout the pandemic, we haven't experienced learning loss in the arts. And that's a real testament to our arts teachers as well as our students and their skills and talents and how they use those to benefit us all. As Dr. Mass said, we're in the midst of theater season. So this weekend, I think tonight actually, there's a performance over at Terrell Middle School of Peter Pan Jr. Next weekend will be followed up by Nettingham Middle School's production of High School Musical Junior. And then followed up by lots of great spring concerts. So our students really do phenomenal work in the arts, and thanks to their teachers, continue to perform at a very high level. And with the support of an arts integration specialist, the arts find their way into lots of our work throughout the curriculum. So we're very fortunate in the district to be able to continue that work.
in addition to the sports and arts and music, we have had also so many opportunities to see students step into leadership roles in our clubs at the high school. We have also seen begin celebrate their blue ribbon opportunity, and we have a growing interest, as was stated earlier, in robotics and coding. So that is something that we are very happy that the budget supports, that the kids benefit from, and also that the parents support. Next slide. And of course, as what the pie showed, that we have fixed expenses, and the fixed expenses are on salaries and benefits. But we couldn't do any of the work or create any of the learning opportunities for our students without our excellent teachers. This year, we had different teachers at every school and educators recognized. And we also recognized them at a specific board meeting in the fall. That's always one of the most positive and celebratory events for our staff. And relating it back to the work that we're doing, we always look at it through a lens of the strategic plan. Most recently, we partnered with the two communities of Scotch Plains and Canwood, and we had a community discussion around the documentary of The Price of Silence. It was really very powerful and something that a conversation we hope to continue and integrate into our curriculum. At McGinn, they have been leaders in doing global evenings, and we can see a picture up there where all of the families came to experience cultures from around the world. In that, McGinn is going to kind of help and give other elementary schools opportunities to expand that program, and there's a lot of excitement regarding that. Also, in the bottom right corner above Spiffy, you will see a picture of Chris Morgan, who is a TV personality, a wildlife activist and producer of the podcast The Wild with Chris Morgan. And he flew in from Seattle to surprise our AP environmental science teacher, Zachary Rittner, with an in-person chat, but his whole class was there, and they were kind of queued up, as we are here with Christopher Jones, to have like a virtual experience, but instead he came in and just really created this amazing happy shock to be there in person. And the work that we're doing to really grow concern about our globe through our science curriculum is something that is very hopeful and impressive. And then I couldn't resist to have a couple shots of Spiffy. He's becoming much more popular. He was at the bonus fair tonight, and you could hear it echoing through the hallway, Spiffy! And the kids certainly love to see him, and he's available to give gentle love, especially on a stressful test day or whatever the stress is coming from. So, all of these things, we really appreciate the community support and the board support, and just the whole thoughtful nature of the budget process, because it is really giving our kids a strong foundation for their future. And with that, any closing comments, Mr. Jones?
No, I want to thank everybody for the board for listening, and thank the administrative team for working together on this budget. And if you have any questions, you can let me know.
Great. Should we keep Christopher on in case there's questions?
Yes, Christopher should stay on if the board has questions.
time for us to make sure we're communicating the preliminary budget prior to being submitted to the county and then finally adopting it next month. So, does anybody have questions for Mr. Jones on anything we talked about? I know we've all been in different committee meetings, exhausting, trying to figure out how we can, really maximize what we have to work with, just because of, as Mr. Jones was saying, inflationary transportation costs continue to skyrocket. As healthcare, I think we're seeing that consistently across your peer districts that you've actually spoken to as well. So we're not alone in this. So I just want to say thank you for putting that together, Dr. McGarry, Dr. Mass, for all the contributions to get us to where we are. I think we are still in a good place, as difficult as it's been. Anybody? Questions?
I have a comment. That because of the balanced sheet that you presented with your team earlier in the year, how we had no debt or deficit is the reason that the increase is as low as it is. Because if we were running a debt, we would have to pay the debt and then pay our expenses. So thank you, Chris, for your back work to bring us to today.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we let Mr. Jones go back to his chicken soup and tea?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones.
All right, thank y'all.
Can you get the links to in the back?
So do we have a motion to approve the 2023-2024 proposed tentative budget?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Do we have any comments, questions? No? This is roll call or no? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We will now move on to our first public comment. So in accordance with Scotch-Plains Family Public School Bylaws 0164 and 0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments, maximum 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. Speakers, please state your full name and the town in which you reside. Please note boards use the public comment period as an opportunity to listen to citizen concerns, but not to debate issues or enter into question and answer sessions or cross-examination between the public and the individual members. Be aware that not all issues brought before the board will be resolved that evening. Boards may respond to public comment by seeking additional information or by delegating the authority to investigate the issue to the superintendent or his or her designee. With that, we're now open for 15 minutes. Do we have anybody who would like to come forward for public comment? Please step forward to the mic, state your name and the town in which you reside.
Is it specific to agenda items?
No.
You sure? Yeah. Okay. I was trying to let the agenda item thing go first, so I've never really understood that whole thing. How do you know that somebody can speak on until they actually speak? So this may seem a little odd. I'm here to talk about being. Oh, Gary Morris, Pando.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I want to talk about a couple of books tonight. I'll save the other one for later. The first one is Anne Frank's Diary, the graphic adaptation. This book is rated for young adults. Many reviewers felt that this book should be for 14 and older. I'm going to read an excerpt from a review. While originally purchased with the intent of putting this on my 4th grade shelves, I plan on donating it to our upper school library, where the direct language about female anatomy, menstruation, and sexual feelings might be better suited. So, many of you have probably heard this book has caused controversy in a number of states. It's rather graphic in a sexual nature and a lot of graphicness about female genitalia and everything like that. And I was really surprised. I looked it up. It's actually in our elementary school. And for a young adult book, do we have a way of checking that books are properly aged in the school? Like, should young adult books ever be in an elementary school? I totally get wanting to teach on the Holocaust, but that's a pretty heavy topic. Regardless of the sexual nature of the book, it's a pretty heavy topic to be in, for a 5-year-old kid to grasp. And like I said, the nature of this book, I did some research on it, and it's kind of odd, is that Anne Frank wrote a lot of this stuff at 13, but around 15 or, I think it was around 15 or 16, she rewrote her diary and took a lot of the sexual nature out of it, and then her dad, again, edited it. I'm mortified to think, like, if my daughter wrote a diary, and she took things out of it, and it came back, and somehow they find those hidden pages and bring them back again. As a dad, that's awful to think that the father intentionally did not want that published, and it's published, and it's in the book. It just seems unnecessary, and like I said, not age appropriate for elementary school. It's really surprising that that would be in an elementary school. So just wanted to give you a heads up. It's one of these, see something, say something. I saw it, and I said something.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Good evening. My name is Mike Polo from Scott Springs. So I'm sure a lot of you are aware that next week on March 21st, our town council is going to be voting on a proposed plan to returf a portion of Brookside. Last week on Tuesday, there was a pretty good dialogue between residents and youth leagues and the township about, the pros and cons for doing that. And I came here because I wanted to talk about the need for more collaboration between our school system and the township in terms of providing necessary fields for, our youth athletes as well as our adult athletes in the township. While there are people that believe that Brookside Park, is the appropriate venue for that, I believe that, the two best locations for any type of returfing happen to reside within the district, the school district. And that would be, the field at Nettingham and the field at Terrell Middle School. I graduated from Scotch Plains in 2003, and aside from the soccer field at the high school and the football stadium, there hasn't really been a whole lot done to improve the sports facilities for our students in our township. So I'm here, speaking and hoping that the township, both Vanwood and Scotch Plains, as well as the school district, will be able to collaborate and look into shared opportunities to provide those types of fields and amenities for the students. Another thing that concerns me about it, and I think this room will completely understand me in saying this, I grew up playing soccer and I grew up playing baseball, and I know how political some of the sports organizations can be and the influence that some of the larger leagues have over reserving field slots. So this is the first year my daughter is playing softball, and this is her third year playing softball. The first 2 years she was in the clinic in town. Now she's playing, real regular season for the rec league, but she's also playing for the PAL program. And my fear is that as they develop, Brookside and put this turf field in, that baseball and soccer will most likely get the bulk of the field reservations, and I'll have to address questions from my daughter as well as the other girls on my team is why they don't deserve the money. And I think the way we solve that is to provide more opportunities, more amenities, more fields for them to do that. So I'm just here to encourage that. I spoke with Matt Adams last week, and I spoke with Matt Rosendahl from the Soccer Association. And, you know, I know they have approached the board various times over the years to try and find opportunities to collaborate. The message I kind of got was that the conversation was had, but then it kind of, you know, was dead in the water. So I'm here just to kind of find out, if you can answer, why the district is not, you know, able to do that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Anyone else like to make a comment for first public comment session? We have another one. Seeing no one, I will close the first public comment.
If I may, Mr. Murray?
Sure.
So regarding the district and the municipalities, we do have partners meetings frequently. Since even before I was the superintendent, the field space has always been attention because we're just such an active town. I do know, and you're aware of this as well, the efforts that the board put in place to get the lights on the fields here at the high school has really increased, you know, usage where it's really surprising but good to see how much more time kids have for football and soccer. In addition to that, there's been improvement to the softball fields here for the girls. But I share your concern that there's equity in the space that girls and boys are given, and not only the playing field, but also the press that covers it and the support. Title IX is something that is important to me personally. The district has had conversations with the township of Scotch Plains and the names that you mentioned, and the pieces that we have, you know, limited space in a time when the district is growing. And so that space behind Terrell it's problematic in drainage. That's where they looked at it, I think it might be over 10 years ago. It was cost prohibitive at that time where the towns and the district were looking to get grant money to work on it. At this point, when the outgoing BA left, she said, if you have to build additional schools or resources, the only land that the town has to do that is behind behind Terrell Middle School. And that was the conversation that I had with the governance of Terrell. You can see that we are expanding based on the development. You can see based on Mr. Jones's comments that we're looking at a demographer to see what the near future holds. In that, we're also working with a new architect that will be appointed soon. And in that work with the new architect, we're really going to be assessing the needs and going out for a referendum. So the referendum that Ms. Mitchell referenced, the debt that has been paid off and managed not to be put back on the plate, if we need to go out for a referendum, that would be the time where we could include in a referendum the resources such as fields, or I like to think big. I don't know what will be affordable or what the community would want. There are parents who would love to have an ice rink, or there would be other parents who would love a performing arts center. And if we did building like that behind Terrell, how would we improve that for fields as well, or the fields and greens next to the park? So those improvements would be part of what we would include in the referendum, and I will contact you to help me pass that. So that would be the direction that we're going. Regarding textbooks, the people who vet the textbooks are people who have advanced degrees in literature for what's appropriate for kids at different ages. They don't just pick a book up, and they don't just look at what's on Amazon to say this is the age range. Trained people are selecting those books. And again, I agree, if you see something, say something. Teachers work very closely with parents and the kids in the class. that a 5-year-old isn't going to go and have access to the type of text that you're describing, though we would make sure that the literature is appropriate. I reassure you of that.
Thank you, Dr. Massey. We're going to move on to committee reports. Do we have committee reports from anybody this evening? Mrs. Soriano.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. The curriculum committee met on March 7th. We discussed a few items. The first was a new proposed textbook for world cultures and geography, and this is for 6th grade social studies. And the new text reflects a revision to the current text that we use. This text would be have more of an issues-based component as opposed to like a sole focus on geography. It's more investigative, more about global issues. So we are seeking approval for 2 sets of books for each of the 6th grade classrooms, social studies classrooms. The cost is $116 per book, and we would be getting 100 books, and that will be on the agenda at the next meeting. The second thing we discussed was Dr. McGarry shared with us all of the exciting offerings that the staff had for Professional Development Day, which was last week when school was closed for students, but open for staff. And there were more than 35 workshops that were offered to staff and administrators, and they each had a relationship to the 4 areas of our strategic plan, which was really wonderful. And the third thing we discussed was Dr. Ravimbis and Dr. McGarry talked to the committee about the visit from the Tri-State Consortium, which we're actually right in the middle of right now, started yesterday and concludes tomorrow. And the Tri-State Consortium is a group that our district is lucky enough to be part of. And what happens is we get a visit from the consortium and an essential question is posed, and then the consortium reviews various pieces to answer the essential question. So they analyze student and teacher artifacts, they conduct observations and focus groups. And the essential question this visit is, to what extent is our literacy program serving our kids with disabilities? So it takes a lot of work to prepare for this visit. There are 25 teachers and administrators involved in the visit. Preparation entails sharing and gathering lesson plans, classroom assignments, assessments, rubrics, professional development opportunities that we share with them. And these are reviewed along with student work, reading logs, differentiated tasks, assessments, and literacy activities that show the consortium how we're teaching literacy in our district. So during the visit, after reviewing all of these things and observing, the consortium members actively share their wonderings and they give insights to us. And then after the visit, a written report is shared that focuses on answering the essential question. And we use that feedback moving forward. And our next meeting is April 18th.
Thank you, Ms. Soriano. Any questions for Mrs. Soriano? Any other committee reports? Mrs. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. Evening, everyone. So the Combined Finance and Facilities Committee met on Monday, and there were a couple agenda items. Of course, we had the budget presentation tonight. Thank you for that. And we have RFPs sent out for architects, and we're down to the final few, so that will be upcoming this week possibly. There's no recommended action at this time, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Williams. Other committee members. Mrs. Moore.
I have the Student Activities and Athletics Committee report. Fortunately, we did hear from Jada and Sarah about a good deal of the incredible things going on at the district, but I would like to mention that Dr. Heisey was with us and Mr. Miller, and we hear from them directly the excitement that they exude when they talk about the sports programs and the arts programs, and just the clubs in general is quite lifts us all up. So we really talked, we were very fortunate to have students visit us from the Mental Health Awareness Club to talk about tonight's amazing and incredible mental health fair that they put on. The student-led mental health fair that was attended by numerous organizations. And the only regret that I have is that we weren't able to announce it before so that more people could go, because it was really planned heavily the past month. But I know that it will be returning next year, so I really encourage everyone to check that out. And congratulations to that team that put it together, because it was really a wonderful event. We went over all of the high school activities taking place, as well as the sports, a synopsis of sports and clubs going on. They really just are some tremendous accomplishments that took place this year. Really not going to go into all the detail, but I will mention that some of the exciting things that I learned about was that we have a new woodworking club that already has over 20 students, and that meets on Thursdays after school. We have a new bilingual connections club, which already has 60 students, and going back to what Dr. Mast had said during the budget presentation, that we have a big focus on student-led activities and student learning opportunities. So the Bilingual Connections Club opens the door for that for students in elementary level. We had a chess club competition. DECA, we've already mentioned, did fabulous this year. There's just so many here. I will say, I know, Jada, you said the robotics club. Important to mention, Student Government Association on March 24th as a Senior Citizens Day. Which is returning to the district, that begins at begins at 9:30 a.m. And winter athletics, so many accolades and highlights. Just, I would probably recommend everybody to check it out and look on our website, and they're all over Twitter. So lots of amazing things going on with our sports. Our next meeting is June 12th at 4:30, and there is no recommended action at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any questions for Ms. Moore?
I have a question. What's Senior Citizens Day?
Oh, please.
So I'm actually the student government officer. Senior Citizens Day is basically something we've been doing for years. It's an interactive day where I believe senior citizens come from the Chelsea, or an organization in Scotch Plains or Fanwood, where they come to the high school and students kind of just interact with them. We have like games, we have snacks, and it's just a very fun interactive experience. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do it the past couple of years due to COVID and just concerns about their health. But I'm very excited that it's going to be coming back, and students have this opportunity to interact with older members of our community.
I'm sure the older members of the community are just as excited.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else? No? Any other committee reports? No more committee reports. Okay. Next item was enrollment numbers, and we actually saw those in the budget presentation, the increase there. Next, letters to the board. So 5 emails were received by the board from the public and forwarded to the appropriate administrator. And superintendent. So this is out of district.
Yep, so for this portion, first I would like to ask the board to approve the change of out-of-district placement that is listed. For item number 2, I'd like to ask the board to approve the decision on the 9 HIB cases discussed on February 16th. I would also like to ask the board to approve the listed field trips. And that's it for my report.
So do we have a motion to approve those 3 items?
So moved.
Do we have any comment or questions?
Yes.
Cassie?
On the field trip requests, number 3 from Ryan Garaci for the Galloping Hill Golf Course, it says it's in Plainsboro, it's in Kenilworth. Number 4, same Ryan Garaci, has Meadows at Middlesex Golf Course saying it's in Kenilworth, but it's in Plainsboro. So the 2 locations are reversed, so I just wanted to
Thank you for highlighting that, Dr. Kulikowski. We would not want the golf team to find out.
Okay, good. Might be good. Thank you. Any other comments, concerns, questions? No? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Personnel.
I would like to ask the board to approve the personnel report that we discussed this evening in exec.
Second. Comments, questions, concerns? No? Mr. Knowles, roll call, please.
Mrs. Brody,
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Barlow,
Yes.
Mrs. Soriani,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Dr. Kulikowski,
Yes.
Mr. Murray.
Yes. Motion carries. We'll move on to business functions. Mr. Knowles.
Thank you. I'm going to separate these into two groups because we're only voting on the first three. The first that we will be voting on is the district staff training approvals. The second item are the leave services that are in need of approval for our special education community. And the third item that we'll be voting on is for the submission of our LE grant for our pre-K program.
Do we have a motion to approve those?
Second.
Second. Amy and Amy, thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the following items will be voted on at our next meeting. We are in the process of evaluating the RFP for a new district architect. We are also in the process of number 5 of finalizing the photocopier lease that Mr. Jones mentioned earlier. We will also have in number 6 our professional services resolution that will add caps to all of our amounts for the 23-24 budget year. In number 7, we will have a very generous approval of a grant from the EDF. 8 is a transportation contract with a parent hotel. 9, we have another very generous donation from an anonymous donor for Evergreen. And in 10, 11, and 12, as well as 13, those will be our customary reports that we issue each month, our fire and safety drill reports, our financial reports for February, our disbursement report for February, as well as our payment of bills for February. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Knowles. Does anybody have any questions on any of those?
I don't have a question, I just want to say thank you to the media for the grants, and I love reading all of the topics and the innovative projects that the staff uses the grant money for.
Thank you, Mr. Soriani. We do have one board resolution. We voted on it next meeting, I think. The next month, the next meeting, which is, August, yes, next Thursday. Board policies. You all ready?
All right. I don't have a new report, and I believe Karen gave the report at last month's meeting about the policies that we are discussing today. I would like to move this evening that we approve second and final reading and adoption of the following policies. Policy 2422, comprehensive health and physical education. Policy 2467, surrogate parents and resource family parents. Policy 5111, eligibility of resident and non-resident students. Policy 8540, school nutrition programs. Policy 8550, meal charges outstanding food service bill. Policy 6115.01, federal awards and funds, internal controls, allowability of costs. Policy 6115.02, federal awards and funds, internal controls, mandatory disclosures. Policy 6115.03, federal awards and funds, internal controls, conflict of interest.
and policy 6311, contracts for goods for services funded by federal grants. In addition, I'd like to also, in the same movement, have the board abolish policy 8810 for religious holidays and policy 5114, children displaced by domestic violence, as we included those things in some of the other policies that we are making changes to.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Mr. Murray?
This item was not up for vote this evening, it is going to be voted on next week.
Thank you for going. Okay, new board business. New board business. So, other board business, I think we're missing workshop reports or requests to attend workshops. I don't see that on here. So I'm gonna stick that in there before we do liaison reports. Does anybody have any workshop reports or requests to attend any workshops? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to liaison reports. Do we have any liaison reports?
Even though they haven't met since our last meeting, they did report back to me to give an update to the public, so I want to share what they have to say. So start off by saying thank you CPAC for sharing this great world with me. CPAC participated at the JCC Resource Fair, the special needs resource fair in February. A few of us were able to attend as well. And it was wonderful to see CPAC there. It was amazing. I haven't had a chance to relay this to CPAC yet, but I was told numerous times by numerous different people that our district is actually being looked at and looked up to as a guide and a source for CPAC and how active it's become. So that's fantastic. They did, I know we discussed they had a liaison meeting in February, but they do have a meeting coming up March 20th. It's this Monday at 7 p.m. This is a parents, guardians, and caregiver only meeting, meaning that no admin will be there. And then for more information, to visit the CPAC site. So, and again, I really encourage everyone to go to that site because they do a weekly list of every resource that they're familiar with that is helpful for special needs students, for mental health, and it's just a great little go-to spot to choose what's coming up for the week. And that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Roth. Any other liaison reports?
I actually attended the Union County Ed Services Commission alternate for Deb, and I always like to go because it's very nice to see all the work that the schools are doing. So the principal, I believe, is at Most Crest Academy North, did a wonderful presentation on how the children are progressing and how they come in with challenges and how they're able to work through them and how they're thriving in a supportive environment. So it's always nice to be able to attend that meeting. So thank you, Deb. And that's really it.
Thank you for always coming.
Any other liaison reports? No? Okay. We will be approving February minutes in the next meeting, next Thursday. And we are here at our second public comment. In accordance with Scotts Plains Family Public School bylaws 0164-0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments. Maximum 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If the time remains, speakers may address other matters. Speakers, please state your full name and the town in which you reside. Please note boards use the public comment period as an opportunity to listen to citizen concerns, but not to debate issues or enter into the question and answer session or cross-examination between the public and the individual members. Be aware that not all issues brought before the board will be resolved that evening. Boards may respond to public comment by seeking additional information or by delegating the authority to investigate the issues to the superintendent and or his or her designee. So we are now open for the second session. If anybody would like to step forward, please state your name and the town in which you reside.
Barry spoke, and I make a quick comment on something unrelated to what I was
Yes.
talking about before.
I don't know how strict the rules are here.
So I guess, sorry, Mike Polo, Scott Plains, in the budget presentation, so the portion that was on the increase in enrollment, I know know there was a bullet point about, the 1,100 officers, the exact number of additional units over the next few years. So I was just curious if that's related to like the Park Gardens and Hokraft sites, and if so, do we know, I guess, what percentage increase we could expect to see from that? And then the other thing was just a comment I wanted to make, I just thought it was worth raising here. Earlier this week, had the opportunity to take my kids to school, and I noticed when I was leaving Evergreen that, where the cars kind of pull out and from the child drop-off lane, and then they approach that first intersection that takes you back to the football field. There was a car about 5 or 6 vehicles back that decided the person didn't want to wait for the crossing guard, sped around all the cars, almost hit a car coming through that intersection that would be directed by the crossing guard. And then, I guess got caught up in the traffic as I caught up to them eventually. But I don't know if there's anything additional that can be done potentially to try and improve just some of the safety. Not just everything, other schools I'm sure have their own problems as well. But I just know it kind of gets chaotic. I know we have a police officer there, although at times it feels like the police officer station there is more focused on parking on time and less on the actual vehicle movements along Evergreen. But I just wanted to raise that just so this way you're aware of it. Thank you.
Jerry Morris, Vanderbilt. This second book, I'll be happy to email the name of the book. I don't want to give it any more publicity than I need to. And just because I know that this is live streamed and it goes on the internet, I will be self-editing to make it acceptable for broadcast.
Good idea.
You're welcome. You will have to figure out what words I'm substituting. I'm sorry, man. I have to hang out with this girl. Are you gonna eat her puppy? Yeah, Earl, I'm gonna eat her puppy. Do you even know how to eat puppy? Not really. Papa Gaines never sat you down. Said, son, one day you're gonna have to eat the puppy. No, but he did teach me how to eat, I'll say, donut holes. I would teach you some puppy eating techniques, but it is a little complicated. I would need some diagrams and whatnot. Well, tonight, maybe you can draw some up. Son, I don't have time for that. I got 20 puppies over here that I need to eat. Again, I'm a rather conservative religious person. This is a rather offensive thing to be sitting in a book. How people are treating women, how they're talking about women. This is egregious stuff. This would not be acceptable on broadcast television. If it was in a movie and you were showing it in the school, you have to have a permission slip. But it's just easy access to see this book. Now the thing, this is a synopsis that I read about it, which I thought was really well put. The narrator named Greg makes low or no budget films with his friend Earl, an African-American youth from a violent family full of addicts from the wrong side of the tracks. The stereotyping, especially when it comes to Earl and his family, is shocking. So in light of what we're trying to do, this seems to be going in the wrong direction in stereotyping, especially since it was written by a Caucasian saying things about black people. And I don't get the raw talk. I don't understand it. I just think we could do better. And totally understand your thought, there's people looking at these things, but sometimes an advanced degree isn't everything. And sometimes you gotta listen to the parents, okay? And this does not represent the people I know in my circle of friends, in my church, in my workplace. It's wrong. And at a certain point, why do we push this on the kids by having it readily available? Anybody could buy these books on Amazon. Anybody could get it in a public library. Why in a school library? Maybe we could eliminate some of the books there and put a classroom in and keep our budget lower. That's a possibility, because if you have tons of books like this. It's unnecessary. Let parents decide what the kids can read, and don't make it this free choice situation where you have something that is that goes against deeply held religious beliefs. My gosh, do you?
Just a general reminder, you're at 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. But can you just imagine somebody with a daughter hearing boys talking this way about her? Would you want that happening? Of course not. Of course not. You wouldn't want your daughter near a person talking like that. And yet it's in this book, and it's just let's think about what we're putting there. We're doing mental health stuff all the time. We're doing this mental health thing. We're creating the mental health problem by having horrible books with drug use, alcohol use, condoning that stuff. We can do so much better. We really could. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norris. Anybody else for public comment? Seeing no one, I will close the second public comment section.
So if I may, going back to the percentage of increase in enrollments, though we know the number of units, we don't necessarily know the number of students that those units will produce. However, we have a demographer who has a predictive formula, and we have a demographer's report that is kind of helping us predict based on those structures. So I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but if you give my office a call, I can share that number with you. Regarding the drop-off at Evergreen, and you're right, it's somewhat pervasive at all of the schools because it's just very crowded, and there's just a lot of drop-off, and we've heard from one of our board members right here, like even where kids get out of cars and cross the street, there's safety concerns. We do reminders. You know, we have principals, you know, kind of position people. We sometimes send out notices just to help people be more mindful of that and the safety issue. And also we work with the police to say that we need a better presence right now to kind of, you know, bring it back to something that is more structured. So you know, thank you for raising that. It's something that's very cyclical and work that we're doing. And again, around the books, there certainly is a range of literature and a range of media that is really dependent on kids having, you know, the parents and the teachers being mindful of how we approach any of that content. We do not fill our libraries with garbage. Again, we have people who work in our libraries with advanced degrees, and kids have access to the adults about how you know, the literature is approached. When there are concerns with parents work with teachers, and teachers often, you know, provide recommendations for literature that they should make available for their kids. We're very mindful of the quality of the literature that we promote, and I think my students here at the table would agree with me that we're just not giving pornography to read. But I do recognize that it's something that we always have to be diligent about, because we certainly don't want kids to have the wrong message, but the adults in their life are very important. Their parents are important, their teachers are important, and it's so important that we work together, and we do. It's something that makes Gosh Plains family great. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Max. I do want to say the one thing on the drop-off pickup thing. I think it was the last meeting we approved external cameras on all our school buses that we're getting installed, so that we'll have that that live recording that we can, you know, share with the police department as well. So those will capture anything that happens in and around any of our district buses. So it's we can't control the vendor buses as much, but it's something that we've been talking about for a while that I think we approved last meeting.
Yes.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, so we have our regular board meeting next Thursday we talked about. On the 28th, there's coffee with the Board of Ed Superintendent Cunningham at 7:30, which is a registration requirement for that. And then 27th of April is our next regular scheduled board meeting, which I believe will be voting on the actual budget. I'm not sure.
I believe 25, yes.
Good of the order. Does anybody have anything for the good of the order? Yes, Dr. Lukowski.
I was lucky enough to attend the Drowsy Chaperone on Sunday the 5th. It was an excellent performance. The students outdid themselves once again. And then Wednesday evening, the 8th of March, I was attending the Unsung Heroes for Union County, put on by the New Jersey School Board Association, and 35 students from all the high schools in Union County were recognized for something special in their life, and hence the Unsung Hero theme of the presentation. And this is the first time we've done it since 2019, prior to the pandemic. So it was lovely to come together, to see all the students and their families and all the principals from the various schools. And, you know, of course, our student that was recognized, Scotch Plains Family High School, Veronica Legerme, Legerme, she was there, and she received her accolades with Dr. Heinz. Congratulations. Oh, yes, Peter Pan this weekend at a town. Looking forward to that.
Other items for the good of the order? Yes,
So if anyone saw the Oscars, last weekend was that last weekend, I couldn't help but think about it when Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture. And when the Daniels directors came up and spoke, did anybody notice who the first person that won Daniel thanked? His public school teacher from high school. So I thought, look at that, gentle reminder of the good work we're doing, and not that you have to win an Oscar, but I thought that was very telling, so thank you, teachers.
I know several of us attended the Price of Silence, that presentation that was mentioned by Dr. Mast in the budget presentation. It was an incredible night. We had a wonderful turnout, and that was where we screened the documentary, The Price of Silence, about the history of slavery in New Jersey. It was informative. We had access to the cast and the writer and director to be able to ask questions afterward. It was a really engaging discussion. And I know our fellow board member, Nancy Bauer, who's not here tonight, was instrumental in bringing that to our district and our towns. So I want to thank her, and it was a really wonderful opportunity. I was very grateful to have been part of it.
Anyone else? Dr. Mass?
So as we move from the winter season to the spring season, I just want to share with the board that Dr. Heisey had started an initiative to invite the administrators to adopt a team. And in that invitation, it was really to recognize, you know, the investment that our families make in their children when they pick up a sport to play. And it's not just, as everyone here knows, it doesn't just happen in high school. You start investing in developing that love of a sport very early on. And the coaches, though many of them are also teachers if they're within the district, the amount of energy and commitment and love that they give to the kids in those sports is something that really needs to be acknowledged, because it's part of developing the whole child. And I was lucky enough, and I'm not sure if it was Dr. McGarry or I, we had adopted similar teams. So the girls' basketball team is one that we closely follow, went to many of the games, and I will tell you that this winter, in rooting for the girls' basketball team, it flew. They were so exciting to watch, and often the boys would follow the girls, so we would also see the boys' basketball team. And the Adopt the Team initiative helped me to get to know the students in a different way and to get to know the parents in a different way and really understand, our community a little bit better. So I'm looking forward to adopting the softball team in the spring. I don't know about you, Dr. McGarry, but so if you see administrators at the games, a lot of the games, that's why. And it really is our joy to do it.
Anyone else for the good of the order? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.